still catching me.
Well, and you can take it off.
And I can take it off, okay.
Uh-oh.
But don't touch it. It's going to be hard.
Don't believe them.
Well, good evening. Thank you so much for inviting me to come. I think Rachel specifically asked me to come, and thank you. Just as a side note before I begin, we're staying at Bev and Sandy's B&B, and I'm here with my full family, my husband and my stepson and my two tiny ones, and we just feel like we're in a paradise in this little cabin, and so thank you for inviting me out. And the second thing is I was so thrilled to hear that you are a group that sings, because I have to get my audience to sing with me, because you can't have stories without singing. It's like peanut butter and jam. You have to have one if you have the other. So we're going to sing today. And then, as it was said, I tell African and African-American folk tales, and that has been a way for me to get to know my own heritage, being raised here in Canada. I was raised in Vancouver with a Filipino stepmom, and I grew up believing and feeling more Filipino than anything else, funnily enough. And maybe one day I'll get into Filipino folk tales. But African and African-American folk tales are my own way of getting to know my heritage. But anyhow, like I said, I love to sing. And I have an introductory song that I often use when I'm telling to an adult audience rather than to little kids. But I recently discovered the story behind that song. And so now I have an introductory story to introduce my introductory song. So it gets kind of convoluted. But that little story goes like this. A long time ago, but not that long ago, as we all know, blacks, Africans, were taken from their home, brought on slave ships to America, and given the title of slave. And as they worked and lived their lives, they had masters who lived in great big houses. And these houses were full of food, succulent food that these slaves oh so wished that they could have. But no. Often, if they were lucky, if the master and his family were kind, they would be given a few of the scraps. And on one occasion, when the master was given a big old ham, and he and his family had finished it off, they took the ham bone and gave it to one of the slaves, who took it off to his shack. And in the shack there was maybe 8, 9, maybe 10 of them. And he gave it to Big Mama. And Big Mama looked at this ham bone and said, what am I gonna do with this? But then an idea struck her. She had a big old pot of beans stewing over the fire. And so she took that ham bone and she placed it in the beans to give the beans flavor. When she was satisfied with the flavor, she took it out and gave it to the Big Mama of the next shack. She too took the bone and placed it in her own big old pot of beans to give the beans flavor. That's right. And when she was satisfied, she too took it out and gave it to the next Big Mama of the next shack, and she put it in her beans to give the beans flavor. And on and on and on the ham bone went, round and round each shack, until all of the slaves that night had themselves some good ham-tasting beans, and they were happy. Now, the song that goes with it, I was delighted when I heard that story, because the song goes like this, and you have to repeat after me. Ham bone, where you been? Ham bone, where you been? Round the world and back again. Round the world and back again. What you gonna do when you get back? What you gonna do when you get back? Take a little walk by the railroad track. Take a ham bone, where's your wife?
Ham bone, where's your wife?
In the kitchen cooking rice.
In the kitchen cooking rice.
Ham bone, can't you dance?
Ham bone, can't you dance?
Come on, man, just take a chance.
Come on, man, just take a chance.
Ham bone, oh ham bone.
Oh, ham bone.
Ham bone, where's your ear?
Ham bone, where's your ear?
I've got a story for you to hear.
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 I've got a story for you to hear. Very good. Now, the first tale is my version, are based on a Nigerian folk tale called The Suspect, and see if you can see where the transformation takes place. There once was a king who had a most prized possession, a knife with a handle that was inlaid with gold and silver. And he loved this knife, kept it on his person at all times. Now he also was a kind king, and often threw great parties, great feasts, and he decided to have one, and invited everyone who was anyone to come and attend this party. And basically everyone showed up. And there was great feasting, great singing, great dancing, and the king himself was having an awesome time. But when the end of the party came, he went to feel for his knife, and he couldn't find it anywhere. Well, he had some of his attendants, some of his friends search for him. They looked high, they looked low, they looked near, they looked far, but they could not find his knife anywhere. The king started to panic. Well, he himself tore through the whole party grounds, and he too looked high and low and near and far, and my God, he could not find his knife. Well, the king flew into a rage. He grieved and then raged again. And when you have a king that is so worked up, you have people, a village, a kingdom that also is worked up. And this was true for one particular town, one particular village rather, a village named Gabo. And the people there loved their king. And one day they were sitting together all around and murmuring amongst themselves, who would do this? Who would steal from our king? Who would do this? Who would do this? And then one of them remembered, wait a second. Well, there's a hunter who lives on the far edge of the village, all on his own. And he likes fine things, fine weapons, doesn't he? And he was at the party, wasn't he? My, oh my, I wouldn't be surprised if he had his eye on that knife. The other said, I wouldn't be surprised, I wouldn't be surprised. And this murmuring grew and grew until finally the group decided to send 2 or 3 of their more persuasive men to walk to the hunter's door, far off at the edge of the village, and to question him. They knocked. The hunter answered. They said, Hunter, we hear you like knives. We hear that you yourself have a good collection of knives. I do, said the hunter. He was a fairly straightforward man. And you were at this party, weren't you? The one where our king lost his knife? I was, the hunter said. But you know, I think I know what you're getting at, and I'm far too busy. I have too much to do to stand here for this kind of interrogation, so thank you, but no thanks. And he closed the door in their face. And they said, well, look at that. He wouldn't even take the time to answer our questions, didn't invite us in. My, oh my, what do you think of that? And they brought the news back to the others.